The galaxy of Zalara stretched across silver skies, filled with glowing stars and crystal-built cities. Among its people, none were more respected than the royal line of the Zalari. Their youngest heir, Princess Avalora Tethra, was known not only for her bright violet eyes, but for her calm mind. She was trained to rule with logic and reason, without being touched by emotion, but deep inside her heart lived a quiet fear. The fear of humans. The Zalari Council had been planning a great treaty with the Terran Union, the group of humans who had recently reached the outer galaxies. The humans were strong, unpredictable, and famous for doing impossible things, surviving storms, taming wild worlds, and standing against odds that even machines feared to seal the peace. Both sides agreed to a union between their species, a symbolic joining, and the chosen one from the Zalari side was Avalora. When she learned of it, her breath froze. The thought of sharing a future, even symbolically, with a human terrified her. From childhood, she had heard stories that humans were emotional, aggressive, and ruled by instincts. Her tutors said they fought wars over feelings and desires, and their reproduction was wild and uncontrollable to her. The idea was not peace, it was chaos. She refused the proposal. Arguing with her advisors and the council elders, "You asked me to bind the royal bloodline to creatures of emotion," she said during one council meeting. "Do you know what they are capable of?" The elder replied calmly, "We know, and that is why peace is needed. You fear them because they are unlike us. Perhaps that difference is what will save us." But Avalora did not believe it. She bowed only out of duty, hiding her trembling hands behind her robe. She dreamed of running away, of escaping into the stars. Weeks later, during her diplomatic mission to the Outer Rim, fate gave her no choice. Her ship, the Celestial Crown, was traveling through an uncharted system when a meteor storm struck. The impact ripped through the ship's shield matrix, and the engines caught fire. "Princess, we must evacuate," cried her guard captain. But before they could reach the escape pods, the control room exploded in light and sound. The princess was thrown across the chamber, and everything went black. When she woke, she was lying in sand. Coarse, golden, endless sand. The air was thick, heavy with oxygen, and her lungs burned with every breath. Her royal armor was cracked, her communicator dead. The sky above was blue, not violet. There were no twin suns, no floating spires, no sign of her people, she realized in horror. That she had crashed on Earth, the world she feared most. For hours she tried to move. Dragging herself toward a shadow, she saw far away a small metal structure, half buried in the dunes. Her legs trembled, her vision blurred, and her energy cells were almost empty. She stumbled and fell again and again, until darkness took her once more. When she opened her eyes the second time, she wasn't in the sand anymore. She was lying on something soft. A bed made of rough fabric. The air smelled of smoke and strange herbs. Then she heard a voice. Deep, calm, and human. "Easy there, you're safe." Her eyes widened. A man stood by the fire, stirring a pot. He wore tattered clothes, his face lined with dust and sunlight. His arms were strong, his hands scarred, and his eyes blue. Like Earth's sky looked gentle. "Don't be afraid," he said. "You're hurt. I found you in the desert." Avalora's first instinct was panic. She tried to reach for her plasma shard, but it was gone. Where is my weapon?" she whispered, her voice hoarse. He raised his hand slowly. "Didn't take it far. It's right there by the wall. I just didn't want you to hurt yourself." "Why?" "Help me," she demanded weakly. "I am not your kind." The man smiled a little. "Don't have to be my kind to need help. You were bleeding and half dead. I couldn't just walk away." He poured water into a cup and held it near her lips. She hesitated, but accepted, feeling the cool liquid run down her throat. It tasted strange but pure. "My name's Elias Kane," he said. "Used to be with the Terran explorers. Now I live here alone. Guess you could call me the local hermit." She stared at him in confusion. "You live here? On this wasteland?" "Someone's gotta," he said with a small laugh. The sun still rises, and there's work to do. He looked at her broken armor with curiosity, but didn't ask questions. Instead, he repaired a cracked air filter on her breathing mask, humming softly as he worked. His hands were careful, gentle. Avalora didn't know what to think. She had expected violence, commands, or curiosity. Instead, this man treated her as if she were simply a guest. When he noticed her watching him, he said, "You can rest here until you're strong enough. I'll fix what I can of your gear." She wanted to protest, to tell him she didn't trust humans, but her body was too weak. So she closed her eyes and drifted to sleep. Listening to the sound of the fire and his quiet breathing nearby, days passed. Elias built a small shade outside his shelter, where the air was cooler. He helped her sit there when the desert sun was gentle. He asked nothing personal, only whether she was in pain or needed food. One evening, as the twin moons of Earth's night rose, she finally spoke. "Why do you help me, human?" she asked quietly. Elias looked up from the fire. "Because you needed it? Is that your only reason?" "That's the best one," he said simply. Avalora turned her eyes away, not knowing what to say. She had been raised in a world where every action had reason, every kindness a purpose. This man offered help with nothing in return. When he cooked his strange earth food, she tried to copy him. The taste was strong, different from the mild energy meals of her homeworld. She almost smiled when he laughed at her face after tasting his soup. "Too spicy?" He asked. "It burns," she said, her eyes watering. "That's flavor," he replied with a grin. "Means you're alive." His humor confused her, but slowly it began to warm something deep inside. Avalora learned small things about him over time. Elias had once served in the Terran fleet, exploring and protecting colonies. He had seen war, loss, and betrayal. And he came to this lonely place seeking peace. He taught her how to fix machinery using simple tools. She showed him how to use a Zalari scanner to track weather. They learned to understand each other's accents, sometimes laughing when translations failed, when she mentioned her fear of humans. That she had been told they were wild and dangerous, Elias didn't get angry. He only said we can be, but that's not all we are. His answer lingered in her heart. One night, when a storm hit the desert, they had to stay close near the fire. Lightning flashed outside, and Avalora flinched at the sound. Elias placed an old blanket over her shoulders. "You're shaking," he said softly. "I am not used to thunder," she whispered. "Our worlds are silent above the clouds." "Silence isn't always peace," he said, looking at the storm. "Sometimes noise is what keeps you alive." She studied his face, the lines of hardship, the quiet strength in his eyes. There was nothing cruel there. Just a man who had endured much, but refused to become bitter. When the storm passed, the desert turned golden again. Avalora's wounds healed and her strength returned. She began helping Elias with his daily tasks, gathering water from a nearby ridge, repairing solar panels, and scanning the horizon for any sign of her people each morning. She found herself watching him work, wondering how someone so simple could feel so complete. One afternoon, while they were repairing the transmitter from her crashed ship, Elias accidentally cut his hand on a sharp edge. Blood spilled bright red. Avalora froze. She had never seen human blood before. Elias just laughed and wrapped it with cloth. "Don't worry. Happens all the time." "But you are hurt," she said quickly. "Pain's part of being alive," he replied. "Teaches you not to make the same mistake twice." She stared at him for a long moment, her heart heavy with confusion. Her people avoided pain, emotion, and risk. Yet this human accepted all three as part of life, and somehow that made him stronger. That night, she couldn't sleep. She sat by the dying fire, thinking of her world perfect. Cold and controlled, in this one. Wild but full of heart. She realized she was no longer afraid. The next morning, something strange happened. Her scanner picked up a faint signal, a distress beacon from her royal guards. Her heart leaped. Rescue, she ran to Elias, excitement shining in her eyes. "My people are near. They will find me." He smiled faintly, but didn't look happy. "That's good news." "You sound disappointed," he shrugged. "Guess I got used to the company." She paused, suddenly uncertain. When they come, you must not be near. They may see you as danger, Elias nodded. Wouldn't want to start an interstellar incident. Tried to laugh, but it sounded hollow. Avalora hesitated. Elias, when I first saw you, I thought humans were monsters. But you are not. He smiled softly. Most of us aren't. We just make bad stories for easy explanations. Her heart ached with something she didn't have a word for. Gratitude, maybe. Or something deeper. She wanted to say more, but the words wouldn't come. That night, stars filled the desert sky. Avalora sat beside the fire, watching Elias fix a small music player. It was cracked and old, yet when it worked, it played a gentle tune, soft and human. What does that sound? She asked. Music, he said. Make silence a little less lonely. Your world is full of strange things, she whispered. He looked at her and smiled. And yours isn't? For the first time she laughed, a real laugh. It startled even her. Elias looked at her, amused. You should do that more often. Makes the world brighter. Her heart felt light. In that. The royal ships glided across the clouds, carrying Princess Avalora Tethra away from the wild planet she had once feared. From the ship's window, she could still see the golden desert below. The tiny shelter of metal and stone shrinking until it vanished. Somewhere down there, Elias Kane was watching the same sky. She pressed her palm against the cold glass. Her throat ached. The more distance grew between them, the heavier her heart became. When she reached her homeworld of Zalera, everything looked the same. Silver towers, quiet cities. Air so clean it felt unreal, but she didn't feel like the same person anymore. The endless calm of her world suddenly felt like silence after music. As the ship landed at the royal spire, the council of elders stood waiting. The grand hall glittered with light from the crystal ceilings. The elders bowed low, their voices echoing, "Welcome home, princess. The galaxy rejoices in your safety." Avalora bowed in return, hiding her tired eyes. Thank you. I owe my life to a human. The hall grew silent at once. Even the air seemed to freeze. The oldest counselor, Lord Varn, spoke. You were rescued by one of them? Yes, she said firmly. His name was Elias Kane. The council members exchanged uneasy glances. Did he harm you? No. He helped me. He saved me when I could not save myself. Another elder frowned. Princess, humans are unpredictable. Their kindness is often a disguise. You must not be swayed. Avalora's gaze hardened. If kindness is a disguise, then perhaps we should learn to wear it. The chamber fell quiet. The princess, who once spoke softly now, stood with fire in her voice. The elders looked at her as if seeing her for the first time. Over the next weeks, Avalora attended countless meetings. The treaty between the Zalari Empire and the Terran Union was still under discussion. Many nobles wanted to cancel it, fearing human influence. Others thought it necessary to keep balance in the galaxy. Avalora listened, but her thoughts were elsewhere. Every night she walked to her balcony, watching the distant stars, wondering if Elias still watched the same sky. Her maid, Lyra, noticed her silence. Your Highness, she asked gently, do you miss the human world? Avalora smiled faintly. It was rough, hot, and loud. Yet alive, there was honesty there, even in its chaos. Did you trust him? Lyra asked. Avalora turned her eyes to the horizon. More than I trusted my own training. The next morning, she requested to address the High Council personally about the treaty. The request shocked everyone royal heirs. Rarely spoke in front of the full chamber, but it was granted. The council hall was immense. Thousands of Zalari citizens and delegates from other systems filled the seats. Avalora walked to the center platform, her long white robe glowing under the light. Elder Varn began. Princess Avalora, before we vote on the human alliance, you may speak. She looked around the chamber. All my life, she began, I was taught that humans are dangerous, ruled by emotion and desire. I believed it so deeply that when fate sent me among them, I expected cruelty. Instead, I found something else. Her voice steadied. I found courage in a man who had nothing. compassion in someone who had no reason to give it. I saw strength born not of control, but of care. Murmurs spread through the hall. They call humans wild, she continued. But I say yes, they are. Wild like the rain, wild like fire, wild like life itself. And in that wildness lies hope. Without it, we are machines. She paused, her eyes glistening. When I fell on their world, I was not a princess. I was just another being who needed help. A human saved me. He asked for nothing. He gave me warmth when I could not stand the cold of my own fears. The hall was silent now. Even the translators stopped humming, so I will not stand here and let fear decide our future. If this treaty brings us closer to those who still remember kindness, then I say let it be done. For a long moment, no one moved. Then the youngest elder, a woman named Sarah, rose and said softly, "The princess speaks truth. Perhaps peace does not come from perfection but from the heart." Slowly others began to nod. The council voted. The alliance passed. The Terran Union and the Zellery Empire were officially bound by peace. Months passed. Avalora's story spread across the stars, the princess saved by a human. Some mocked it. Others found hope in it. And though her life returned to royal duty, her heart remained restless. One evening, while reviewing reports, she found a communication record, a distress signal from the same sector where Elias lived. It had gone unanswered. Her pulse quickened. Without telling anyone, she ordered a small ship prepared. "A private diplomatic mission," she told the guards. "Do not alert the council." Lyra tried to stop her. "Princess, if you go alone to a human world, they will call it madness." "Then let them," Avalora said. "Sometimes madness is simply another name for faith." She left that night, her ship cutting silently through the stars. When she reached the desert world again, it was nearly dawn. The golden sands looked the same, but the air felt heavier. She guided her craft toward the coordinates. She remembered the little metal shelter by the dunes. It was half buried now. The roof had collapsed. Her heart raced. She stepped out, her silver cloak fluttering in the wind, calling softly, "Elias." No answer, only the whisper of sand. She searched inside the broken shelter. The fire pit was cold, the tools rusted, but on the wall she saw something that made her breath catch. Carved roughly into the metal was a symbol, star, with a small crown above it. Beside it, words scratched by hand. "The princess will find her way." Oh. Tears filled her eyes. She touched the carving gently, as if touching his voice. "Where are you?" she whispered. A faint noise echoed from behind the dunes, a human voice shouting orders. She followed the sound until she saw a group of Terran explorers unloading supplies. Among them, an older man turned toward her. It was Elias. He looked thinner, his beard longer, but his eyes were the same calm blue. For a moment, they just stared at each other across the sand. Then he smiled. "Didn't think I'd ever see royalty out here again." Avalora walked forward slowly, her throat tight. "You are alive, still breathing," he said lightly. "Didn't expect visitors from the stars, though." She almost laughed through her tears. "I heard your signal. I came to see if you were safe," he said, scratching his neck. "Safe enough. Just helping the new colony settle. You know, teaching them how to survive storms and bad soup." She looked around. The barren land was changing. Small domes and machines dotted the horizon, signs of human rebuilding. "You stayed," she said softly. "Why?" he shrugged. "Someone had to. This place may be rough, but it's home." She smiled faintly. "I told my people you were not dangerous, that you were proof humans have heart." They listened. "The treaty stands because of you." He looked surprised. "Because of me?" "Because of what you showed me," she said. "That kindness can be stronger than fear." Elias looked down at the sand, a little shy. "Didn't think saving one stranger would change the galaxy?" "It did," she whispered. They walked along the ridge as the sun rose, painting the desert in gold. Avalora told him how the alliance had begun, how her people now sent envoys to learn from humans, and how even the council had started to study human art and laughter. Elias listened, shaking his head. "Guess we're rubbing off on each other?" When they reached the top of the dune, Avalora turned to him. There is something else. The Council wants me to lead the new Unity program. They want both races to learn together. But I cannot do it alone. He frowned. You want me to come? I want you to teach them what I cannot, she said. Teach them about courage. About being human. He stared at her for a moment. Me? A teacher? To aliens? Who better? She said with a smile. You taught me. He laughed softly. Well, when you put it that way. For a while, they stood in silence, watching the light spread. Then he said quietly, You know, Princess, the first time I met you, you were ready to vaporize me. You were foolish enough to help me anyway, she replied. Maybe foolishness is our secret power, he said. Then I'm grateful for it. Weeks later, the first joint settlement between humans and Zalari was built on that same desert world. It became a place where the two species worked side by side. Avalora represented her people. Elias guided the settlers. And together, they made something neither had imagined --trust. At night, when the work was done, they would sit outside under the twin moons, sharing stories. She told him of crystal cities and silent seas. He told her of rain, laughter, and the smell of earth after a storm. One evening she asked softly, Elias, do you think our worlds will ever truly understand each other? He looked up at the stars. Maybe not completely, but maybe they don't need to. Understanding starts with one person at a time. Then it began with us. He met her gaze. Yeah, guess it did. Years passed. The alliance grew strong. Humans and Zalari explored new systems together, building cities that mixed metal and crystal, logic and heart. Historians would later say the New Age began the day an alien princess met a human in the desert. But for Avalora and Elias, it wasn't about history. It was about moments repairing old machines, planting the first seed in alien soil, watching the sunrise that both species could call theirs. One night, long after the settlement became a shining city, Avalora walked to the same ridge where she had first found him years ago. Elias stood there, older now, his hair touched with silver. Do you ever regret it? She asked quietly. He smiled. Not a single day.